Hi guys, today we're gonna go over my March TBR. This is a pretty ambitious stack, but there's a lot of books I'm really excited to get to this month, so hopefully I can actually make my way through this entire list. Gonna start off with a rollover from last month, and that is Bone Shard Emperor. I've been wanting to read this since it came out. I got it for Christmas. Just the way my reading has gone the last couple of months, it kept getting pushed back, but I want to read this, dang it. It is next on my list, and I have the audiobook on hold from my library for like another 9 days, so this is gonna get read this month. I've talked about this series quite a bit on my channel. I loved the first one, Bone Shard Daughter. I think it's a really unique fantasy story. It's multi-POV, it's inspired by East Asia, and it's so good. So I'm really excited to get into this next book and kind of see where the story goes. The last one left off on quite the cliffhanger, and it took a weird turn, but I'm into it. So picking this up next, no matter what. I am currently in the middle of the second book in the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, Gathering of Shadows, and it is so good. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna want to pick up Conjuring of Light pretty quickly soon after. I want to get to Bone Shard Emperor first, but this is gonna be following closely behind because I'm just really loving this series. I love the characters that V.E. Schwab has created. I'm like almost done with the second one, and I'm so excited to see where it goes. Yeah, I love V.E. Schwab's writing. I want to get through her entire backlist as soon as I can, so figure finish this series up and move on to another one of her works soon. Next, we have a book that my coworker lent me, and she's really into like thrillers and mysteries and stuff, which I have not really gotten into quite so much until like this year, so I'm really intrigued by this one, and she said it was quite good, and it's The Last Flight by, I think it's Julia Clark? Yeah, Julie Clark, sorry, the Target sticker. I don't know what this is about. The back says, 2 women, 2 flights, one last chance to disappear. Now that I say that, that does sound familiar. So these 2 women meet at like an airport, and they're both kind of desperate to flee their situations, and they make a last minute decision to switch tickets. One of the planes goes down during its flight, and the other woman like assumes the other lady's identity and has to like keep the secrets that that woman tried so hard to keep hidden. And it sounds interesting. It seems like a pretty short book. It's less than 300 pages. I love borrowing books from friends, but I hate leaving them to the side for a really long time to collect dust. So I want to try to get to this and return it to my coworker as soon as I can. I'm gonna try to get to this one this month. And thrillers are usually pretty quick reads for me, so I should be able to get through this pretty fast. Next up, we have a book that my friend Stephanie has been literally for years begging me to read, and I love the movie adaptation and the limited series as well, so I think it's finally time. I've been waiting for sort of warmer weather for this because this story just sort of reminds me of spring for some reason, but that is Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice. I do have a fancier copy off to the side, but I kind of want to annotate this as I read. I'm not a big annotator. I don't do tabs or anything, but I think this would be a good one to sort of write notes, and yeah, I don't know, it feels like that kind of book. So I want to try that and kind of see how I feel about that, and maybe I'll do that more going forward. This is a pretty beat up used copy that I got from Thrift Books. It used to belong to Ellie Palmier, grade 10, so I wonder if she annotated it. Doesn't look like it. That would have been cute. But yeah, so I'm excited to finally get to this one. I've been wanting to read it for years. The timing's just never been right. So I think this is the month it's gonna happen, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm probably gonna watch the movie shortly afterwards because I'm obsessed. Next up, we have a couple buddy reads I'm hoping to get to this month, and we're starting off with another classic, and I know 2 classics in 1 month. Who am I? That never happens. But my friend Sydney suggested her and I read Frankenstein together, and I've never read this one. I had a copy sort of similar. I think it was like a Penguin Classics edition, like my Pride and Prejudice copy, and I got rid of it a while ago because I was like, I'm not going to read this. I regret that, but this gave me the opportunity to get the fancy Barnes & Noble exclusive kind of soft cover edition. It's like faux leather. They're really pretty, and I love them. So I've just barely started this one, probably not going to get to it more until like it is solidly March, but I'm excited. I've heard good things. Mary Shelley sort of started the whole like horror genre. I'm excited to see sort of where it all began. I've read a lot of books that sort of tackle the Frankenstein story. The one I can think of the most clearly at the moment is The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodora Goss. I've been really curious to read the actual like source material ever since, so I think this will be a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to buddy read this with my friend Sydney. We're also planning on reading a more current book to shake things up a little bit, and we decided to go with Velvet Was the Night by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This has been on my TBR since it came out. I really love Silvia Moreno Garcia's writing. Everything I've read by her so far has been 5 stars, so I'm very excited to pick this one up. It takes place during, I believe, like the Mexico student riots in like Mexico City in the 70s, and there's like I don't know if it's a murder mystery, but like the main character is obsessed with her next door neighbor, and then like that neighbor goes missing, and then like there's another character who works for like a gang boss or something who is also searching for this woman. And I don't know, I love stories that take place in the 70s. I think they just have like really good atmosphere, and this has been described as more of like a noir story, which is definitely a departure from what I've read by Silvia Moreno Garcia so far, but I don't know, I have faith in her. I think she could tackle pretty much any genre and I would love it. So I'm very curious to see her take on like a crime thriller. I'm gonna be buddy reading this with Sydney as well, and I'm very excited. Next up is another book that's been on my TBR for quite some time, and a buddy read has given me the opportunity to finally pick it up. That is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. My friend Stephanie has recently started the Shadow and Bone TV series and fallen in love with Kaz Brekker, so she's like, can we read Six of Crows together? And I was like, sure. I've not read the original Shadow and Bone trilogy, but from what I've heard, if you're familiar with sort of the Grisha-verse in general, you can pretty much jump straight into Six of Crows, so I'm not too worried about it. I've really loved the Shadow and Bone TV show, so I'm really excited to see what all the hype is about Six of Crows, because I know people say it's even better than the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so very excited to get into this one with Stephanie. I found this one used at my local bookstore. This is a first edition, first printing with the black sprayed edges, and I'm obsessed. I've been trying to find the sequel Crooked Kingdom with the red sprayed edges for forever, and I cannot find one for a good price. That continues to elude me, but I have faith that I'll find it one day, and in the meantime, I'm excited to read the first one. Next up, we have a couple newer releases that I'm hoping to get to, starting with Beasts of a Little Land by Juhia Kim. This came out, I think, in like January, and I was immediately obsessed with this cover. It is one of the most beautiful book covers I have ever seen in my entire life. Not that that was the sole reason I bought it, it also sounded interesting. And the flap says it is an epic story of love, war, redemption set against the backdrop of the Korean independence movement. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Pachinko in that way. I think Pachinko spans a larger breadth of time, but this one is also a multi-generational story, and it starts in 1917 in Korea, and one encounter unfolds a saga that spans half a century. And I love those kind of stories, how like one decision or one action in your life can really navigate the rest of it. I just think it's such an interesting concept, and I love to see how that's going to play out. And again, this cover's beautiful. I have the audiobook on hold from my library, so as soon as that comes in, I want to jump right into this because I'm just so excited. And finally, another book that takes place in the 70s, I believe, is Jonathan Franzen's Crossroads. I picked this up for 50% off at Barnes & Noble a couple months ago, and I don't know, I've seen Jonathan Franzen's name quite a bit, but this is the first book by him that really piqued my interest. It's gonna be like a multi-generational series, or it's gonna like follow the family and like the kids through the decades. So starting in the 70s with this first book. So the parents are like on the brink of a divorce, and the kids all have sort of their own baggage and secrets and stuff. And I don't know, I've been really into like family stories lately, and I think this is going to be interesting. And again, I love the setting of the 1970s. I think it's just such an interesting time in American history too, so I'm excited to see what this one is all about. And maybe if I like this one, I'll pick up more by Jonathan Franzen. Again, I've heard his name quite a bit, so I'm excited to dip my toes into Jonathan Franzen's work. And again, hopefully if I like this, I'll pick up some other stuff by him. If you have any suggestions about which books I should look into by him, if any, please leave them down below. All right, and that wraps up my March TBR. I kind of have a couple other ones that I'm thinking about picking up soon, but these are the ones I definitely want to get to, and it feels quite ambitious already. There's some chockers in this stack. There are some sort of denser classics that will probably take me a little bit more time to read, so hopefully I can get to all of these, because some of them especially have been on my TBR forever, and I do want to finally get to them. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to leave your recommendations about what I should start with, or if you've read any of these and have non-spoilery thoughts about them, please let me know. I'd love to hear them. Also, feel free to follow my socials down in the description box below. Follow my channel if you don't already, and like this video, and as always, have a lovely day. Bye.